Okay. I see some people are online. So let's say the usual prayers. Maybe not the usual prayers. Maybe we will say the homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, and then we will say the refuge lines. Dumba jumden de je jewa da jumba yanda ba zobe zanje riba da shabzo demba devara jeba jigden yemba jebo debe galo jurwa lana meba lada menam je dumba zanje jumden de bejawa jaja duba la jaze lo jodo jazo jo dumba jumden de je jewa ta jumba yanda ba zobe zanje Rigwa da jazo demba devara jeba jigden kemba jebo dube kalo jurwa lana meba lada menam je demba zanje jumden de bejawa shaja duba la jaze lo chodo jazo cheo demba jumden de deje jewa Jumba yanda ba zobe do jazo cheo Sanje chodan choje chonamala chancho bado tani japsoje. Dagi jinso jebe sonam anje dola penje sanje jobara sho. Sanje chodan choje chonamala chancho bado tani japsoje. Dagi jinso jebe sonam anje dola penje sanje jobara sho. Sanje chodan choje chonamala chancho bado tani japsoje. Dagi jinso jebe sonam anje dola penje sanje jobara sho. Okay. I hope you can hear me clearly. So this is the first class. So welcome to our first online class, or rather, shall I say, live streaming class. And if you cannot hear clearly, please message me. At the site, there is a bar, live chat bar, where you can write in. Okay, great. So you can hear me clearly. Okay. So it seems a bit awkward because I don't see you. I don't see your faces. And it is like I'm just talking to myself. But anyway, I think I will get used to it. So welcome to the modern technology. Despite all that, we can still have class going on. So my thanks goes to both Kens, Ken Topekman and Ken Dunn, for helping me setting this up. And at the moment, we haven't figured out how to display the slides. So that's why we have provided the slides separately. Hopefully, you have access to that. So I'm not sure whether how many new people are joining us here today, but I thought to give a brief, what do you call that, background of this teaching. So we have been discussing this teaching for the last, I don't know, maybe at least 2 months, or maybe more than that. So this teaching, The Wheel of Sharp Weapon by Dhammarakshita, it is all about helping us to cultivate or generate a bodhicitta mind. Of course, there are two types of bodhicitta which the text mentioned. So there are the conventional bodhicitta, which is actually the real bodhicitta, commonly known as bodhicitta. And then the other one is the ultimate bodhicitta. So sometimes it is a bit confusing. So ultimate bodhicitta is in reality is not really the bodhicitta that we understand. So ultimate bodhicitta here refers to wisdom realizing emptiness. So this wisdom realizing emptiness is, in a sense, the ultimate bodhicitta. So when we call bodhicitta, it is translated as the mind of bodhi, the bodhi mind, so which is the enlightened mind. So in order to really attain the bodhi mind, there is no way achieving it without relying on the wisdom realizing emptiness. So in that sense, wisdom realizing emptiness can be called ultimate bodhicitta, the bodhi mind. So don't get confused with this too. So here the first is like 90% of the text is all about cultivating the conventional bodhicitta. And then the other 10% talks about the ultimate, cultivating the ultimate bodhicitta. So of course, most of you understand what bodhicitta means, but in case there are newcomers, since I cannot see your faces, so maybe through Facebook notification, maybe new people have joined in. So bodhicitta is actually a mind that aspires to achieve enlightenment for the sake of other sentient beings. So in that sense, the person's ultimate goal is to help other sentient beings, to liberate other sentient beings. But at the moment, being ordinary person, we do not have the capability, we do not have the means, we are not equipped to help other sentient beings. Forget about all sentient beings, not even one person. So we are unequipped. So when do we get the ability? When we will have the ability and capability to help, really help sentient being, is when we achieve Buddhahood, when we become Buddha. So because of that, so we want to achieve Buddhahood first, so that we can be able to liberate other sentient beings. So that is the gist of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta, of course, we all know that it is so beneficial. In Chunjuk, it says, Kyaba tumar rabgung zeba yi, tungwa namji tinyi pembarasik, dine seme kewe so namji tejo tela nyedu tobraches. So those Buddhas who have contemplated on this for eons and eons of years have come to the conclusion that the one thing that can enable us the lasting happiness is the mind, the bodhicitta mind. So Buddha is speaking from his own experience. Likewise, it also says that Sibe Tuni Kyata Shom Dojing, Simjin Midi Sewar Dobadang, Teman Kyata Chobar Dobajang, Chanju Simni Tadu Dangmi Chas. So if anybody who wishes to eradicate or eliminate the sufferings of this samsaric existence, one should cultivate bodhicitta. And then those who are interested, who are keen to eliminate the sufferings of other beings, then it says that person should cultivate bodhicitta. And if we are persons who wishes to have happiness and do not want to experience suffering, then it says cultivate bodhicitta. So we have discussed this before. Of course, bodhicitta, when we talk about the ultimate, or the lasting happiness, is the Buddhahood, the state of Buddhahood, the state where one is free of all flaws and one is perfect, one perfected all the qualities. That is the state of Buddhahood. So that one relies, or shall I say, is indispensable. Bodhicitta is indispensable in achieving that. So in that sense, bodhicitta is like the seed. And the rest of the perfections are like watering the plant. If we have a seed, and then if we water that seed, we can expect something to sprout and eventually blossom. Whereas if there is no seed, then no matter how diligently we water that soil, nothing will sprout, nothing will blossom. Likewise, if we don't generate bodhicitta, there is no way we will blossom, we will be able to blossom into Buddhahood, the state of enlightenment. So in that sense, bodhicitta is like the seed. And for that reason, in Lamrim text, when Lamrim teaches the topic of bodhicitta, it describes the bodhicitta as the gateway to Mahayana path. Even though we claim ourselves to be Mahayana practitioner, if we don't have the bodhicitta, then we are just making a false claim. We are not a Mahayana practitioner. The distinguishing feature of Mahayana and Theravada is bodhicitta mind. And in Shantideva's text, Shantideva goes on to say that bodhicitta is like the alchemy, the solution that can transform metal into gold. So even though at the moment we are ordinary beings, we have impure bodies, but as soon as we generate the bodhicitta mind, we became precious. Our body become a precious one. And also we will receive the name, the sons of Buddha. But from our own experience in our life, if you are able to generate not just that bodhicitta, even just having a compassionate heart, we can see the benefit. We don't need to go far. Look at His Holiness. His Holiness is the paragon of bodhicitta. His Holiness is already, I think, in his 86 years old. Look at him. He looks so young for his age. So we spend a lot of money on anti-aging creams. People go for cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery to remove the wrinkles. People go for Botox to make them look younger. And it is so expensive. Even just a small bottle of those anti-aging cream costs a lot of money. But if you are really interested in looking younger, this is the solution. Cultivate bodhicitta. You will look 10, 20 years younger than your age. And then I have mentioned this before. If we are able to generate bodhicitta, the source, our sources of happiness will be infinite. Everywhere, every good thing happening to infinite number of people, all that becomes our source of happiness. So why not? So that is why Buddha and Buddha's followers or great practitioners, they emphasize on the benefit, or they extol the benefit of bodhicitta. So now the question is, how do we develop bodhicitta mind? So bodhicitta mind arises from this sense of responsibility, taking upon oneself the responsibility of liberating all sentient beings. And that only arises after we are able to generate compassion towards other sentient beings, not just people who are in your inner group, inner circle, but to everybody, to strangers, to enemies, to all sentient beings. So if we are able to generate that kind of compassion, so compassion is the wish to end the suffering of sentient beings. So here first we need to perceive the suffering of sentient beings. So that's why in Lamrim teaching texts, it always emphasizes that first one needs to contemplate on one's own suffering. Once we have clear experiential understanding of the sufferings that we suffer, we then divert, or we move our attention towards other sentient beings and then understand their suffering, what kind of suffering they are undergoing. So with that understanding, we generate the compassion to eliminate their suffering. And that kind of compassion only arises when we have this love, this special love, this sense of endearment. When we are able to see all sentient beings as one's only son, that kind of love one has for one's only child. Let's say if we have one child and that went somewhere else for a holiday for, let's say, 3 months. When the child returns, that first moment when you see your child after 3 months gap or something, how much love you will have for that child, how much this sense of endearment. So that kind of love has this capacity to do anything, the capacity or the willingness to sacrifice or willingness to compromise one's own happiness and joy in order to provide happiness and joy for the other person. So we need to develop that degree of love for all sentient beings. So if we have that, then the compassion will automatically arise. With the compassion, the sense of responsibility arises. With the sense of responsibility, then this bodhicitta, aspiring to achieve enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings, automatically arises. So what prevents us from developing that kind of love is because self-cherishing attitude comes between all that. We have, at the moment, we have our love and compassion are spotlighted to certain group of people, only to our family members, our friends. But those who are not included in that circle, in that group, we kind of have this indifference. And of course, if the person is one's enemy or something, then of course we have this aversion towards those people. So all this is because of self-cherishing attitude. So for that reason, this wheel of sharp weapon, verses after verses, trying to point out the flaws or the damages or the ramifications the self-cherishing attitude has given rise to. And as a result, we suffer. We aspire to be happy, but we end up suffering. So that is all because of these negative karmas, the consequences of negative karmas, which came about in the first place due to self-cherishing attitude. So where does self-cherishing attitude come about? So that is what in the later text talks about. This self-grasping, this misconception of the identity of self. Having this wrong notion of how I exist. Because of that, we develop attachment to ourselves. And because of that, we cherish ourselves. And because of that, we engage in all kinds of activities, especially non-virtue. And that's why we suffer. So the wheel of sharp weapon, as we have seen, that it is trying to point to us. These are the consequences of cherishing ourselves alone. And the idea is that once we are able to identify the workings of self-cherishing attitude, we will be able to kind of develop an antidote which is cherishing others. So the more we are able to reduce self-cherishing attitude, the closer we will be to generating bodhicitta. So that's the whole idea behind this. So now we will continue from where we left. So if I remember correctly, it is the verse I think we finished verse 85. So I hope you have access to the slides. So verse 85, it says, Chagdang gombe shenjo yongla me, Chagdo gombe shenla chogur dep, Pungji tokben gola chimse chim, Chada shime nyala maraya. I think we have covered this, but anyway, no harm in repeating this. So, habituated to attachment and anger, I insult all those who oppose me. Habituated to envy, I slander and denigrate others. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception. Mortally strike at the heart of this pusher and enemy ego. So this is about the disadvantages or the flaws of three poisonous mental state. So attachment, anger, and then jealousy. Because we are habituated in these three poisonous mental states, it is so easy for us. It is so easy for us to see others' faults. It is so difficult to see the good qualities of others. So that's why we have this strong bias against people who are not in your groups. It is this sense of belonging. So if the person is not within your group, or the persons or people whom you regard as outsiders, then we tend to have this to see their faults, and as a result, we insult. Likewise, habituated to envy, I slander and denigrate others. So that one also, it is quite common. So the opponent, the countering mental state is rejoicing. So when we see other people do something virtue, how many times we are able to rejoice that? And sometimes even other people whom we dislike, when they do something virtue, do we rejoice them? It is very difficult for us to do that. Instead, we will find something to undermine their intention. Let's say if a person makes a huge donation. So I think recently when Jeff Bezos made this huge donation to homeless people, I think, and I was surprised to see the comments by people is that it is only 0.5% of his income. There are similar negative comments. So this is us. Jeff Bezos doesn't have to give that money. So when people give instead of rejoicing, we tend to criticize them. So that's what is habituated to envy. It's because We are habituated. We are accustomed to doing that. So that's why this is happening. So dance and trample on the head. So this is all because of our ego or the self-cherishing attitude. So requesting Yamantaka to mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. The next verse, 86. Lomnyer ma je kyajen kedu se lama ma den lungla myoba che pungji tobe ngola chimse chim to rely, I think it's a rely, failing to rely upon teachers, I defame the scriptures. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. So this is highlighting the importance of studying, especially studying a broad range of scriptures, broad range of texts, not just studying, just focusing on something very small in scope. So sometimes what happens is people will say that, oh, no need to study these canons of Buddhist texts. We just need to study that text, and that is good enough. So when we have that kind of attitude, of course, first of all, we don't know the attitude. Mostly that attitude is coming from laziness, or maybe you don't know much, you didn't study much. So in order to justify your limited knowledge or limited effort or commitment to studying, so you try to justify and give excuses that we don't need to study that. So when we do that, we are forsaking the vast range of texts. That's one. And then another is the importance of relying on teachers. So nowadays, with modern technology, so everything you can get online. So sometimes people think that, oh, I am intelligent enough to self-study. I don't need to rely on a Lama. I don't need to receive any teachings. I can just go online and study. There are so many books available. I can just order these books and I can just study, and that's good enough. So here it is saying that it is not enough. First of all, when we receive teachings from a Lama, there is this blessings of the lineage blessings, because that Lama has received from another Lama, that another Lama has received from another Lama. So that actually leads to the root, which is Buddha. Buddha has passed on these teachings on to his followers. And slowly we have created this lineage. So it is important. So not just studying, even teaching, it is important to have the lineage, important to have received the teachings. Lama Madin Lungla Möber Ches. So this is all due to selfish attitude. So asking Yamantaka to destroy that, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. So now let's move to the next one. I hope you are okay. Everything is okay, hearing clearly? Tenue che rangsu zundu tik tana ma jong labze barsha ma pungje tobwengo la chemse tada shemeni la marayas. Instead of teaching the discourses, I expound lies of my own invention. Failing to cultivate pure perception, I utter insults and threats, dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. So this is about teaching the correct teaching correctly, giving teachings that aligns with the Buddhist discourse. So instead of teaching the discourses, I expound lies of my own invention. So this is emphasizing on the importance that whatever you teach, you must teach according to the Buddha's discourses. That is included in what is called the three baskets. And basically saying that we should not rely heavily or blindly on people who claims that this is such a quintessential teaching that I have received from this and that, and this is a special teaching that I received through my dreams. There are many people who claim to have this vision and that vision, and then of course there are also claims that I have dug this treasure out from the from the cave or from the mountain or from the rock, and that's why it is so important especially when you teach. Also, we should not engage in this kind of lies. If you don't know, you don't know. If you have received the teaching, you have received the teaching. So that's important. So I think from our own experience, when you talk with some people, what happens is they have completely wrong understanding of the concept. But then if you try to correct that, and then what will they say? They will say, oh, because this Lama told me, or my Guru told me. So we don't know whether that is the truth. So we have this tendency to justify our knowledge because we don't want to appear fool. So that arises from this self-cherishing attitude. And then failing to cultivate pure perception, I utter insults and threats. So this is very important. So if we are able to cultivate pure perception, so here when we say pure perception, in Tibetan it's called tagnang. So you try to see only the qualities of other person. Even when you see negative aspects of the person, we will try to interpret. Remember when in the Guru devotion section, when you say that when you see your Guru in a negative light, you have to tell yourself that, oh, Guru is actually emanation or manifestation of Buddha. So whatever I am seeing is because of my karma, my negative karma. Remember the story about Asanga and Maitreya? Maitreya was there all along, all the time. But because Asanga has not purified enough, there are obscurations still there. Because of the obscurations and defilements, he could not see Maitreya with his impure, or shall I say, unpurified eyes. The minute he was able to generate that compassion, that helped to purify great, quantity of negative actions, and that was able to remove all that obscurations, and instantly he was able to see Maitreya. So these are the stories that we bring in when we encounter this kind of situations. When you see somebody, that the odd is that, we may argue that then what is the, why do we do that? Whatever I see, why do I need to interpret that? Because if we are able to see other person in the light of their quality, it benefits us. We won't be troubled. First of all, our peace of mind won't be destroyed. So many times we see something and then we get so disturbed, we get so worked up, and then that destroys our peace of mind. So here it's saying they're failing to cultivate pure conception. We have to develop this habit of seeing other people in that, what do you call, this to develop this pure perception. And instead, we utter insults and threats. So this uttering insults and threats comes about from failing to have this pure perception. So that also is a result of our self-cherishing attitude. So dance and trample on the head of this betrayer false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. Then the next, 88, refusing to condemn deeds that are contrary to Dharma, I level various criticisms against all well-spoken words. Sorry, I forgot to read the Tibetan one. Chumin lela möber mi jebar lekshe yongla sunjin na zo tong. Pongji toben gola chimsijin tada sheme ningla maraya. Refusing to condemn deeds that are contrary to Dharma, I level various criticism against all well-spoken words. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy. So, I think the best example is the political situation, not just in America, but everywhere. So in order to retain, in order to save their own chair, people will say and do things that they contrary to what they believe. People may feel that this is not right, that is completely out of norm, that is not the right thing to do, that is not the decency. But because the self, what do you call, the concern, the self-purpose is more important than standing to the wrongs. So many people fail to right the wrong because of self-cherishing attitude. If I do that, I will lose my seat in Congress, for example. I will lose my position. I will lose my status. So I rather go along and keep quiet. So this is what he's saying, refusing to condemn deeds that are contrary to Dharma. There are many things. I think most of the people they do are not according to Dharma. They are contrary to Dharma. And because of self-cherishing attitude, we failed to condemn those deeds. And then what happens? Because of self-cherishing attitude, because of your own purpose there, we level various criticism against all well-spoken words. those who are doing the right thing, we will just say, we will find a way to criticize. So I think I mentioned this to you. So how the Tibetan parliament, when they have a session, Sangdul Rinpoche said that when he was the president, when people raised their hand to oppose or to support the motion, Rinpoche said that when people raise their hand, Rinpoche can kind of predict what that person is going to say, whether that person is going to oppose that motion or to support that. Because it says that people don't really look at the issue. They just look at the people who is saying this, who is proposing this. Is that person someone that I should be opposing? Or is that someone whom I should be supporting? So if the person happened to be someone, your friend, or somebody belonging to your inner group, then no matter whether the proposal is beneficial or not, right or not, that person will blindly support. But contrarily, if the person is somebody whom one should oppose, then even that proposal is such a beneficial one will still oppose. So this is all because of this self-cherishing attitude. You are so much concerned about yourself and your people. These are my people, I and my. Because of self-cherishing attitude, this comes. I, of course, is very important. And then comes the my things, my people, my friends, my family. So that's what it is saying. Failing to I level various criticism against all well-spoken words. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception. Mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. So now let's go to verse 89. Ngoze nela ngozer minzimbar ngomi sala ngoze chulok zin pungji tobwe ngola chimse chim tada sheme nyingla maraya. Failing to regard signs of disgrace as a source of shame. I don't know whether this translation is better. Having no shame about things I should be ashamed of. Perversely, I hold what are signs of honors as a source of shame. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. So this is again talking about doing the right thing. So just to give an example, so there are people who boast about cheating people. Oh, I was able to cheat other people. I was able to make a fat profit from these people. So this is common in India. So when we use the what is called coolie, the labor at the train station, people who help to carry our things, they have different rates for different people. So when they see a foreigner, their rates are completely different. When they see their own people, the rates are different. So I used to get so agitated because I feel that it was really, not right. So because to them, we are foreigners. So when we ask for the charges, they will quote some ridiculous amount. And of course, eventually it will go down to the normal price. But that's what they try. And sometimes we feel that, oh, these people, they are poor, they have to work hard. And then, you tend to, okay, just give it. But from the other side, they don't interpret that way. They won't perceive as the other person being kind. To them, it's like, okay, I was able to rob them of this. I was able to get extra money from that person. So that's why I'm saying, instead of feeling ashamed of this dishonesty, engaging in dishonesty and related actions, I view that as something of an achievement. And then perversely, I hold what are signs of honors as a source of shame. So this, of course, is coming from the this from the perspective of Dharma practice. So remember, we talk about what is a real Dharma practitioner, the mental state of Dharma, real Dharma practitioner. Real Dharma practitioner has no concern of their names and criticisms by others, praise or criticism by others. But most of us, we are so much influenced by praise and criticism. I want to do this, but if I do this, people will say this, people will criticize, so I better not do. I don't want to do this, but if I don't do that, people will criticize. If I do this, I will get praise. So we are all the time what you call the maneuvered by others' praise and criticism. So for a practitioner, it doesn't really matter what other people say. So if you really want to practice, so remember we discussed last week about this, that you don't care whether you have a house to live in or not. You don't care whether you end up as a homeless person on the street, as long as you are able to practice Dharma. So here, the purpose that I hold what are signs of honors as source of shame. So some people, these ending up on the street as homeless person is like something to be ashamed of. So as a practitioner, as long as you get to practice, as long as you are practicing, this doesn't matter. So it is completely the opposite way of looking at things as a normal, ordinary person versus a real practitioner. So all this fame and status, all this worldly concern arises from this self-cherishing attitude. So that's why I dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. Okay, let's move to the verse 90. Chena rungwa chikyang meje bar mirik chawa thamje chebayi pungji tobyen gola chimse chim tada sheme la maraya. So this is now summarizing all that that was discussed earlier. So now, failing to pursue any suitable deeds, I perform instead all that is inappropriate. So because of this self-cherishing attitude, so when we recollect all that actions that we have done because of self-cherishing attitude, so it can be summarized in this. So what we have done so far in our past life until now is that we have pursued what is called inappropriate. Here, inappropriate in the sense that those actions that we engage in are inappropriate in a sense that it does not help us to progress in the path of achieving enlightenment, it does not give or provide, it does not result in liberation or nirvana, and it does not even help us to ensure a good rebirth in the next life. Instead, what we are doing actually brings us down to lower realms, where once we are fallen in there, it will be so hard, so difficult. It is like impossible to do any virtue unless and until we are able to get out of that. Then the virtuous deeds which results in liberation, Buddhahood, and also good rebirth in the next life. We fail to do all that. We fail to pursue that. Most of the time, we are too busy involved in worldly things. And then even when we try to do, when we give some time to do practice, that is also stained by worldly concern. So, in the end, there is nothing that is worthy to be called Dharma practice. So, if there is nothing that is Dharma practice, then we cannot expect anything other than going down to lower realms. So that's the summary. So this is all because of self-cherishing attitude. So here, by now, we should have come to the conclusion that the culprit is the self-cherishing attitude. I have done all these inappropriate actions which does not help me, but instead which brings me more and more suffering. And I have failed to pursue any virtue or any suitable deeds that guarantees a good result. So all these I have committed in this life, in my past life, because of what? That's the question we need to ask. And then you realize that, yeah, underneath all this, it is the self-cherishing attitude. Self-cherishing attitude has a role in all of these actions. So I must tackle this self-cherishing attitude. So after going through all these verses, we are already at the verse 90. So we should have come to the conclusion that self-cherishing attitude is not something we should be subservient to. At the moment, we are very, very obedient. We always follow instructions. Whatever suggestions, whatever instructions the self-cherishing attitude gives, we simply follow. So here, after all this is the time we say, enough is enough. I had enough of you. From today, let me bid goodbye to you, and I don't want to go under your command. I want to do the opposite of that, which is I want to go under the influence of cherishing others. So that's what we should come to the conclusion. So you saw this image, isn't it? So anyway, yeah, I cannot show the slides, so it's okay. So we will stop here because this is online class and I don't want to go too long. First of all, we don't see each other it is awkward for me, and I think it may be also awkward for you as well. So if you have any questions, you can either key in here or you can email me, and then hopefully I can address that during our next class. So next class will be next Sunday. So we are not going to have the Georgia and meditation sessions online. So it will be, the classes will be every alternate Sunday. So we will have 1 hour's class, and then we will see how it goes. So I hope this one is quite clear, and thank you.